camera was a modification of the earlier camera which we used for Chandrayaan 1, etc. So particularly the science activities in each of the ISRO centers had to be monitored by us, and we had to give an overall report of all of them. The first picture which came after going into Mars orbit is still in my memory. From around 60,000 or so, we could see half of the hemisphere fully with one picture. So every job has its own special challenges, and space activity has its own special challenge, and you have to be, and sometimes you have to go where life leads you, but always remember what you would like to do and then change if you can.
Namaste friends and well-wishers of children in Sparsha Trust. I'm thrilled to welcome you to the 6th edition of our Kids Colorama channel. Today, we will discuss the remarkable story of Mission Mangal, which captured the world's attention in 2013. We are honored to have Dr. Seetha Madam with us, who played a vital role as a program director in launching Mission Mangal. She is also been a kind mentor and supporter of Sparsha Trust since 2019, working closely with our children and contributing to our science park development. We welcome you, ma'am. We are eager to hear your experiences and insights.
Good afternoon, ma'am. And myself, Ligesh, studying in first year diploma. And here I am to ask you some questions which are related to your career.
Thank you.
And first question is, can you share with us what inspired you to pursue space science and instrumentation?
Okay, I studied my MSc in IIT Madras with electronics. So my MSc was in physics, but my special elective was electronics. So that's how I got interested in instrumentation. But since an advertisement came, I just applied and I got into space science.
Were there any mentors or role models who influenced your career path?
As far as my career path is concerned, we had one professor who, my teachers and my professors in both college and school were there. But one particular professor, Dr. T.S. Natarajan, he encouraged us a lot to do things ourselves. He used to leave the lab to ourselves, and we could do anything which we want and so on. So that was a very good inspiration for us, because we learned to do things on our own rather than doing it as a curriculum, and that was very, very useful.
You joined ISRO in 1980s, ma'am.
Yes.
And it was the time where women were few in engineering field and even in science field.
Yes.
And what was the biggest challenge that you faced in that time?
I joined in the ISRO Satellite Center at that time, and hardly 10% were women employees. We knew each other. All of us knew each other fully, whether they were in admin, whether they were in other things. Particularly technical and science people were very, very few. You could have counted them in 10s or 20s, that's all. We were all growing. I think we were all young. We were all growing along with the organization.
And you worked as a program director in ISRO's office, like Space Science Program Office, ma'am. And what were your major responsibilities?
Okay, in our headquarters, and I worked as the director of the Space Science Office, I was in charge of all the science experiments happening in all the centers of ISRO. So not only particular one center, but all the centers of ISRO. So, and all projects. So that's how I came into, for example, Mars Orbiter mission. There we had to monitor all the experiments which were being developed for Mars Orbiter mission.
Ma'am, you played a significant role in Mangalyaan mission. And what were the insights or challenges that you faced during its development?
Actually, there were 5 experiments on Mangalyaan, Mars Orbiter mission. And they had to be, the biggest challenge was they had to be developed within 18 months, because the time set after the project approval before the flight was 18 months. So actually the experiments had to be actually delivered within 15 months or so, because they had to be then integrated to the satellite and then tested and so on. And all the 5 were new experiments. Even the camera was a modification of the earlier camera which we used for Chandrayaan 1, etc. So this was a major challenge as far as science experiments was concerned. After the flight, we took pictures of the Earth itself before we even went into Mars orbit. And the first picture was India. And then we went to Mars. The first picture which came after going into Mars orbit is still in my memory. And the biggest advantage Mars orbiter mission had was we were in an elliptical orbit around Mars. At the lowest, we were in few hundreds of kilometers, and farthest we were 77,000 kilometers in the orbit. From around 60,000 or so, we could see half of the hemisphere fully with one picture. So we could take that full Mars picture periodically when we went around the orbit. If you go very close, you can see only part of the planet. Whereas when you go far, you can see the whole hemisphere and you can take the whole picture. So that's one more nice opportunity we had.
Okay. And how women's role evolved over the years in ISRO?
Women's role now, it is very, very good. At that time, as I said, in the 80s, we were all youngsters and we were growing along with the organization. Women started taking on senior roles. It was first as section heads, division heads, etc. That is what we call group activities. Then women started taking project roles like project director, program director, etc. We had women project director for Chandrayaan 2, Vanita. So, program director means for several such projects they are there as program director. We also had an associate director for centers who are women. So now they're sort of occupying all the high places. And so I'm looking forward to a time when we will have a woman chairman of ISRO and Secretary of Department of Space.
And you have spoken about that women may not be able to handle the rather of research.
No, I didn't say they won't be able to handle. They can handle. But the perception is it's too difficult for women to handle. There are tough situations in many jobs. So there are tough situations in this job also. But at the same time, team spirit, etc. is so good that you can overcome much of those challenges. When the project is near finishing, you might have to continuously work for several hours. You might have to work in night shifts, etc. Those things are there. That's one thing, and the team members give a lot of support for this. Which job doesn't have problems? Tell me a banker, nowadays most banks have women, right? They also must be facing this kind of tension in March month, every March month, April, when they have to close accounts, etc., etc., right? So every job has its own special challenges, and space activity has its own special challenge, and you have to be aware of it. That's all I'm saying.
And what changes or suggestions would you recommend for encouragement of women's role in ISRO, like leadership roles?
Yeah, I would definitely encourage them to take all leadership roles. The gender part doesn't at all come into picture because we're all working as individuals with a certain expertise. Of course, the expertise is different for different people, and that is there, that difference is there, whether they are women or men.
And what message would you give to young women who are aspiring to enter the STEM fields?
Definitely come into STEM. Again, it's a perception that science is very difficult, maths particularly is very difficult, etc. It's only a perception. If you are capable of doing it, please go ahead. Don't listen to others saying that maybe it is more difficult later. If you have the interest, definitely you can do it. You should have a logical reasoning kind of mind. You should have an analytical kind of mind for science subjects, and you are good at it and you like it, definitely go for STEM subjects.
And ma'am, you received a very prestigious awards like Sir C.V. Raman Scientist Award and Best Women Scientist Award. And what do they mean to you?
See, every award for that matter, I think gives a lot of encouragement for that individual, and if it is a team award, for the whole team. The people who are in charge of giving those awards have recognized those efforts and your contribution to that individuals and every team's life.
Ma'am, and do you have any particular milestones or goals that you have achieved and feel proud of it most?
Yeah, I have been very happy. When I entered ISRO, for example, as I said, ISRO was not that famous, but to grow along with the organization and to reach a time when it has become so famous is great. Particularly if I see for a particular project, I worked a lot for a project called AstroSat, which is still working. AstroSat, I am the principal investigator for that project. That is one project which is slightly different from all the projects because we have made it work as a space observatory, the Indian Space Observatory in space. That means any scientist in the world can propose for observations using that satellite to observe a star or a galaxy. And if that proposal is accepted by a review committee which is in India, then what we do is we point the satellite to that star, collect the data and give it to that scientist to analyze. The people who operate the satellite itself, I should say, is a great step towards making science satellites from India available to everyone. Second, we also make the data open to all researchers after a certain locking period. That's one more step we have gained in AstroSat. And third is in AstroSat, as I said, we have contributions for building that payloads itself from several academic institutions within India and Indian Institute of Astrophysics. And we also had collaboration with Canadian Space Agency and also University of Leicester. So this, I think, is a major thing for this particular mission.
And how do you see India's role in future, like special missions like Mangalyaan, Gaganyaan?
Okay, already our next mission to go to Venus is approved. So we will have a chance to to view and study another planet, and we hope that is very successful. To have a lander, etc., to Mars, and that I hope gets approved. So Gaganyaan mission. There I am expecting biology also to enter into the area of research. From India, the science research and so on.
And what are the upcoming science projects that you are most excited for?
Yeah, as I said, I'm very excited about the Venus project and I hope it will definitely come through. I am looking forward to follow-up missions of Chandrayaan, AstroSat. Chandrayaan will have 4 and 5 which are already approved. Looking forward to those. AstroSat, Aditya L1. Getting good results from these and also follow-up missions of these.
And if you had to give one piece of advice for students and even space professionals, what would it be?
Follow your path. Think about who you are. First understand who you are. If you can't, you can always take help from your mentors, your friends, etc. Because they also observe you closely and they can tell you what are your special qualities. Because this is one thing, if you understand, you will follow the right career path. Otherwise, what will happen is you will go where life leads you and you may not like that and then you have to change and so on. And sometimes you have to go where life leads you, but always remember what you would like to do and then spend less time or watch the time you spend on social media. Because one thing is, once you start on it, you don't realize how much time you spend on it. You need to watch the clock, only then you will know how much time. Time just goes because it goes from one to another and another and another. And so, especially when there are critical times, you are giving your 12th exam, you are preparing for your PUC exam. At that time, definitely there's a need for seeing only what is needed and then cut it. Take the help of social media. I'm not saying cut it off from where you see. Take it from the reliable sites because there's a lot of things there on social media, what you want to take.
What was the most exciting part of working on Mars mission, ma'am?
My most exciting part was, as I said, building the experiments within a short time. Second, building new experiments. Third, we had only 15 kg for 5 experiments. Typically only 3 kg. So the designers had to minimize, they had to miniaturize the whole experiment to minimum mass and power. So that was the most challenging for the designers, and therefore for us also to see that it gets done in the time and it works well.
What were the favorite subjects in school when you were our age?
My favorite subjects has been science. I particularly liked biology actually, but I did not take up, I would have loved to become a doctor, medical doctor. I didn't like dissection. Could have taken botany, but then I also liked physics and chemistry and maths, so I decided to go in for physics.
Do you always dream of working on ISRO, ma'am, when you were a kid?
No, when I was a kid, ISRO started only in the 1970s. So at that time, I did not know about ISRO at all. It was only when I was finishing my BSc and came to MSc, I saw advertisements, etc. And then only I came to know about ISRO. I had seen lunar landing movies on the TV. So Neil Armstrong stepping on the moon, etc. That I had seen on TV. So that was a great thing.
Was science hard, ma'am, when you were younger?
Not particularly hard. I think I have a very analytical mind. So I liked science subjects.
How did you stay motivated, ma'am, when things got tough in studies?
When things got tough in studies, see, things get tough when you are not able to address some particular problem, right? So at that time, what I would do is I would try to see if there are other ways to address it, or I would even go to somebody, some friend, and ask how to do this. And we used to discuss with friends. So that was a very good thing, which we extended even in our BSc and MSc and so on. We used to discuss. Second thing was in BSc especially, we spent a lot of time in library. We used to actually go and refer books. And in different books, things will be explained differently. And that helps in understanding, I feel. That helped a lot to solve my doubts.
What was the coolest experiment you have ever done?
Coolest experiment. I used to like experiments in light. Physics in light especially. And that was very nice. I used to enjoy Newton's rings, refraction of light, etc. etc. I loved that.
Do you believe there will be aliens somewhere in space?
We don't have any proof of aliens so far, though there are lots of conjectures. As scientists, there are two ways to look at it. When you say, are we alone? Why should Earth be the only planet which has life? Now, in fact, scientists have discovered around 5,000 planets outside of the solar system. These are called exoplanets, and many of them may be Earth-like. How it evolved in other places, we don't know. Whether we are evolved as human beings only on Earth, and other places there are different types of life, maybe.
If you could travel to any planet, which one would you visit, ma'am, and why?
If I could travel to, I haven't even traveled the whole of Earth. No, but if I would like to go to a different planet, maybe I would like to go to Mars, because we have done some studies, Mars, so that there is some conjecture that we can go and live, but it is difficult, and so we could go there.
What's your favorite space fact that always surprises people, ma'am?
Okay, one space fact which surprises most people. I work in astronomy, and so one thing which surprises most people is that stars also have a life, and they also come to the end of their life. Many common people think stars are forever, but that's not true. Stars are also born, they also have a life, and at the end they end up as either a white dwarf, a neutron star, or a black hole. And because I do X-ray astronomy, I study those stars also, white dwarfs, neutron stars, black hole. And optical, we study the regular stars. So this many people say they never knew that stars have a life of their own.
Who is your favorite astronaut or space hero, ma'am?
Space hero? Rakesh Sharma, first Indian who went into space. I have met him also. I talked to him.
Do you still get excited when you look at the stars, ma'am?
Definitely. Yes, as I said, I work in astronomy. Every time I look at the sky, I do get excited. Every time there is an event in the sky, I do get excited. More than seeing the sky and getting excited, I also get excited when I read a paper with some very wonderful result.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Animesh.